This is the 2022 fourth quarter online investor conference of Oneness Biotech Company Limited. We are very pleased to be joined online by the distinguished guests and the investors in this virtual investor conference. First of all, I would like to introduce to you the management team: General Manager Chi-Hui Cheng, Vice President of Medical Science Shai-Jen Chen, Vice President of the Antibody Development Nian Chen, Vice President of Small Molecule Development Nina Wang, Senior Manager of the Finance Department Amy Xiao. Next, I would like to invite Chi-Hui Cheng, the General Manager, to give a brief speech.
Shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today is the fourth online investor conference of Oneness in 2022, and the management team will report to the shareholders on the research and development progress of Oneness new drugs and the important topics that shareholders are keen to learn more about. We hope all shareholders know more about Oneness. Looking back on 2022, Oneness research and development of new drugs has had a challenging year, including the continuous outbreak of COVID-19, which has a great impact on clinical trials of immuno-new drugs. Oneness 2 new asthmatic antibody drugs in the Phase 2 clinical trials must be slowed down to avoid any trial bias. ON101 China NDA for diabetic foot ulcer is waiting for the review results from CDE. In addition, the international licensing of Oneness new drug has not yet been finalized. All of the above were important objectives that were expected to complete within this year. However, Oneness team did not retreat when facing the challenges and uncertainties, but became more determined and diligent to turn obstacles into motivation, continued to strengthen the clinical research on the mechanism of action and biomarkers of new immune antibody drugs to improve the successful rate of clinical trial. Meeting and communication with the US FDA to remove possible obstacles for future licensing negotiations were completed intensively. For China NDA progress, so far, all dossiers we have submitted are in accordance with the regulatory requirements and review standards, and we are waiting for the reply results as everyone else. At the same time, we always adhere to the strategy of continuous new drug research and development circulation. Regarding licensing progress that everyone cares about, Oneness is not only in the progress of one licensing deal but is under negotiation with multiple licensing partners at the same time. Currently, we need to wait for the right time to come. In addition, in ON101 market entry in 6 ASEAN countries, the information requested from each authority were all replied. ASEAN market entry applications are anticipated to hear decision from next year, through US 510K of Bonvati's topical medical device for wound management. It has made Oneness wound healing product more flexible in market strategy. It also accelerates the product launch in countries where new medical devices are suitable. Another novel drug SNS812 against COVID successfully developed into the Phase 1 clinical trial in the US in the shortest time. The mechanism of action data were published in the renowned journal EMBO, demonstrating Oneness' strong R&D capability in developing first-in-class drugs. We are looking forward to confirming the efficacy of the most potential drug on COVID-infected patients as soon as possible. As of now, 6 international new drugs or medical devices have entered clinical trials or commercial stage, which will be a strong driving force for the sustainable growth of Oneness in the future. Under the challenge of various goals, the possible variables to be faced will be greater when moving forward. Oneness has managed the target schedule as much as possible to minimize the variables. In terms of regulatory affairs, in addition to communication, it is to wait. Now it is a critical period in waiting, and we are very much looking forward to obtaining the final NDA results in China in the possible shortest time, international market licensing cooperation deals successively, and seeing that SNS812 treatment curing COVID patient. We believe that where there is a will, there is a way, and we hope the seeds will bring the harvest and joy in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, General Manager Cheng. Next, the progress of R&D will be reported by Vice President of Medical Science Dr. Shai-Jen Chen.
This is the last investor conference of the year. We also did an annual R&D review. The COVID-19 pandemic during 2020 to 2022 has affected the implementation of clinical trials of immune-related new drugs. Oneness was thus very cautious in the trial enrollment and execution of FB 825 and FB 704A for the treatment of asthma to avoid being negatively affected by the pandemic. Nevertheless, despite under such a difficult situation, the R&D has been progressed continuously. The Phase 2A trial of FB 825 for atopic dermatitis has been completed. Accordingly, the upfront payment of US $33.6 million was recognized. After a regulatory consultation meeting with FDA, the PK bridging study from IV to SC formulation prior to a Phase 2B trial will be carried out with the international partner. The Phase 2 clinical trial of FB 704A in severe asthma is ongoing. Considering the risk management and to maximize opportunity, Oneness has decided to start exploratory clinical study in the second indication of CKD and CVD after the preclinical proof of concept. Further resources will be invested into clinical development after obtaining preliminary clinical efficacy in this indication. ON101 is under active planning to enter into global market. With a dual regulatory pathway strategy, new drug pathway will be adopted for major markets with Phase 3 study or trial waiver application. For markets where medical device pathway is more suitable, the market entry will be made under the medical device formulation and application. The goal is to accelerate global market entry. Regarding SNS812, with FDA's green light on the Phase 1 clinical trial, study was successfully initiated. SNS812 has become Oneness's fifth new drug under clinical development. After confirming safety in the Phase 1 study, Oneness will accelerate the clinical trial on patients. The progress of SNS812 has also demonstrated the research and development capability of Oneness and Microbio Shanghai in nucleic acid new drugs. We will contribute more resources to the development of nucleic acid new drugs for global market in the future. The following is individual reports on Oneness R&D progress of key pipeline. FB825 is a new antisemps antibody drug mainly for atopic dermatitis subsequent plan and allergic asthma Phase 2A study. FB704A is an anti-IL-6 antibody drug, primarily in a Phase 2 study for neutrophilic asthma and with the development of a second indication of CKD-induced CVD. ON101 is a macrophage-regulating drug under a Phase 3 study in the United States, China NDA review, global market entry, international publications, and extramural program. The progress of topical medical device Bonvadis, US 510K, EU MDR, and global market entry will be reported in details later. OB318 is an anti-cancer drug where the Phase 1 clinical study is currently ongoing. SNS812, a small molecule nucleic acid drug against COVID, is also currently undergoing the Phase 1 study. For the new antibody drugs, we invite Vice President of the Antibody Development, Nian Chen, to make a detailed report for everyone.
Thank you, and I will report to you the research and development progress of antibody new drugs. First of all, I will report FB825 subsequent clinical plan for moderate to severe atopic dermatitis to you. After FB825 Phase 2 a clinical study was unblind, we continued to carry out subsequent clinical progress. With complete study data analysis, the PK data were also analyzed. After these data analysis, we have obtained the extrapolation basis for PK doses and also drafted the clinical trial design of PK bridging study, IV to SC. A consultation meeting request was filed to the US FDA in September 2022 and the FDA provided recommendation in December 2022 on the PK bridging trial from IV to SC route as well as on the subsequent Phase 2B study protocol. Based on the FDA's advice, the PK bridging trial will be conducted with the international partner. The study drug production is planned to be completed in Q1 2023 followed by the clinical study execution. The PK bridging trial will be completed in the first half of 2024. The results of the PK bridging trial will be referenced to design the Phase 2B trial with subcutaneous formulation. In terms of the progress of FB825 Taiwan Phase 2A study in moderate to severe allergic asthma, 7 medical centers have been activated for patient enrollment, and 6 more hospitals to be added by the fourth quarter of 2022. There will be in total of 13 medical centers activated for the study recruitment. The goal is for the total number of study sites to be 15 in 2023 Q1. As mentioned earlier, due to the impact of COVID pandemic, the timeline will be postponed for 3 months. The enrollment is scheduled to be completed in Q3 2023. The study period is 9 months, and the CSR will be completed in 2024. In the development of FB825, we are also actively exploring MOA and other scientific evidence. A provisional patent has been filed based on the data from the exploratory trials of the atopic dermatitis. After we summarized the characterization of the IgE cells targeted by FB825, the discovery has been considered unique and worth of patenting. The number of MIgE expressing B cell subpopulations were positively correlated with disease severity of AD. The number of the cells was reduced in AD patients following treatment with FB825. As a result, we will apply for provisional patent to protect it. At the same time, the manuscript based on the results of efficacy in exploratory trials has been submitted to an international journal in December 2022, hoping to confirm the FB825 MOA position, to increase the patent protection and to allow more experts to understand this world-class new drug. Regarding FB70 for a progress of Phase 2A study in severe asthma, at present, 5 medical centers in Taiwan have been activated for patient enrollment. 3 more study sites to be added to the clinical trial by the fourth quarter of 2022. A total of 8 hospitals are included in the clinical trial for patient recruitment. Similarly, the timeline will be postponed for 3 months due to COVID impact. The enrollment is scheduled to be completed in the third quarter of 2023. The study in severe asthma period is 4 months, and the CSR will be completed in 2024. In terms of the progress of FB70 for a biomarker study in severe asthma, in order to ensure the smooth going of the Phase 2A study, an exploratory trial for biomarkers has been carried out in parallel. This exploratory study is to collect sputum and blood samples from smoking and non-smoking asthma patients for analysis in order to explore biomarker profiles. When this specimen collection study is completed and the relevant data is obtained, the FB70 for a treatment effect of smoking and non-smoking group with high IL-6 and high neutrophils will be evaluated to facilitate the expansion of the treatment population. Smoking population are excluded from most of the clinical trials of biologics in the past, so there are no effective biologics in smoking asthma patients. Therefore, the exploratory study in this population can help FB704A expand the use in patient population, particularly there is not any biologics for smoking asthma patients in the same category. Furthermore, the exploratory study can of course support biomarker Phase 2A study in non-smoking asthma patients. At present, the clinical trial protocol has been submitted to TFDA. We will carry out the study soon after approval. For the smokers among asthma patients, there is a significant difference from the non-smokers. About 20% of asthma patients are smokers. Asthma status of smokers compared with non-smoking asthma patients are more severe symptoms, higher medical costs, higher mortality rate and poorer lung function. In terms of treatment, smokers' asthma patient does not respond well to inhaled steroid therapy. Therefore, this is an unmet medical need. Exploring FB704 in this patient group will help expand the use convenience for patients. In the past year, we have also continued to explore FB704 a second indication of reducing CVD risks in CKD patients. As previously reported, the evaluation of the development potential of FB704A in chronic kidney disease including animal study has been completed. After a series of market evaluation, we decided to proceed with this indication. Therefore, the exploratory clinical trial protocol has been submitted to TFDA in December 2022. The Phase 2 trial will be started after preliminary clinical efficacy is obtained. The above is the development progress of antibody new drug. Please continue the report by Vice President. Okay, thanks.
Regarding the progress of ON101 Phase 3 study in the USA, 6 regulatory meetings on PARC, toxicology, CMC, and clinical consultation have been conducted with US FDA during the first to the fourth quarters in 2022, where our colleagues worked very hard to confirm the detailed regulatory requirements on future NDA submission. So far, FDA agreed on the waiver of pediatric study. The waiver of dermal and systemic carcinogenicity study can be submitted under the latest updated guidance. Based on FDA's recommendation, the response to review comments and protocol amendment have been submitted. Considering the impact of COVID pandemic and FDA's recommendation on future NDA, the number of study sites will be increased to 30 in the first half of 2023 to accelerate recruitment. The NDA submission timeline will remain in 2025. For ON101 NDA progress in China, we received the Drug Registration Inspection Report from the National Institutes for Food and Drug Control on September 30, 2022, and all of the submitted samples passed inspection. All NDA dossiers have been submitted in accordance with the regulations, and so far CDE has not raised any questions or requests for supplementary documents. Oneness is confident that the submitted dossiers satisfy the review requirements on the basis of regulations and science. The subsequent NDA progress will depend on the review by the NMPA. In terms of the progress of international market entry for Fespixin, the countries under NDA review include Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, and the Philippines. In Singapore, the information requested from Singapore HSA were replied in December 2022. In Malaysia, the information requested from Malaysia NPRA were also replied in November 2022. In Vietnam, our NDA has been accepted by DAV in July 2022, and the review timeline is 20 to 28 months. In the Philippines FDA also accepted our NDA in April 2022 for a review timeline of 254 days. As of now, no further requests have been received from Vietnam DAV or Philippines FDA. In terms of the progress of international market entry for Fespixin, the countries' planned NDA submission include Indonesia, Thailand, India, South Korea, and the GCC 7 countries. In Indonesia, BPOM accepted the application of site validation in October this year, and the samples were tested in December 2022. NDA will be submitted after site validation and sample testing completed. In Thailand, we will submit after the evaluation on suitable and a credible partner for regulatory submission in November 2022. In India, meeting with Indian Health Authority on clinical trial waiver was conducted in August this year, but no decision has been made. A further request on production information, closed part, was made subsequently. Taking the regulatory review timeline and the acceptable market price of the new drug in India into consideration, Oneness has decided to adopt medical device pathway for Indian market. In South Korea, local clinical trial waiver was allowed by Korean MFDS in December 2022. NDA has been planned for submission in the first half of 2023. The GCC 7 Gulf countries are currently under product classification evaluation. NDA has been planned for submission in the first half of 2023. With regards to the topical medical device under trade name Bonvadis, this topical cream for wound management has been completed with the preliminary and on-site inspection in accordance with QMS, the so-called Medical Device Quality Management System, in the fourth quarter of 2022. After approval, the export license will be applied to the TFDA. After receipt of the export license in the first quarter of 2023, Bonvadis can be distributed abroad. The first stage countries referenced 510(k) approval for abridged registration include New Zealand, India, South Africa, and Australia. After completing the regulatory pathway and review process assessment, medical device registration will be applied. Progress of topical medical device 2. In terms of medical device for scar management, EUMDR registration has been submitted in 2022 December after ISO 13485 certificate was received. In terms of the plan for topical medical device for wound management, new scope will be applied in the first half of 2023 after ISO 13285 certification received to fulfill EU medical device requirements. EUMDR registration for wound management will be applied in the second half of 2023. This is the overall medical device plan. In terms of the progress of OB318 Phase 1 enrollment, it is for patients with advanced cancer. As we all know, patients with advanced cancer are hard to make decisions for new treatment or for planning the rest lives when facing the end of their lives with complicated emotion. So it is quite difficult for this trial enrollment. By our team's effort, the Cohort 1, Cohort 2, and Cohort 3 enrollments were completed and reviewed by Safety Review Committee. Cohort 4 enrollment was also completed in Q4. In the next year, we will continue to work towards the Cohort 5, 6, 7, and 8 study. In terms of the research and development progress of SNS812 siRNA drug against SARS-CoV-2, according to the comparison results of the latest database on 2022. December 9th, the coverage rate of SNS812 to the SARS-CoV-2 variants remained at 99.8%. For new variants such as Omicron BA.5, BQ.1, and XBB, no mutation was found on the target site of SNS812. Phase 1 clinical trial has been greenlighted by US FDA in 2022 September, and the first dose cohort was completed in 2022 December. The data have been reviewed by Safety Review Committee, and the second dose cohort was then initiated. It is going quite smoothly. In terms of subsequent planning for SNS812 siRNA drug against SARS-CoV-2, the last patient last visit of U.S. Phase 1 trial with inhalation dosage will be completed in 2023 Q1. After collecting preliminary safety data, we will apply to add a 1C cohort with the U.S. FDA. If this request is allowed, the efficacy of SNS812 on COVID patients can be obtained earlier. In this case, IC cohort will be completed in 2023 Q2, and the Phase 2 clinical trial is scheduled to be initiated in 2023 Q2. After communicating with China CDE, the primate toxicology data have been required prior to the clinical study. Considering that a Phase 1 trial has been started under US FDA IND and primate experiments can be time-consuming during pandemic, we decide to apply for clinical study in China after US Phase 1 trial is completed. SNS812 siRNA drug against SARS-CoV-2, compared with the current existing therapeutic drugs, has a safe and broader spectrum effect. For example, Merck's molnupiravir, a small molecule drug, is a nucleoside analog. Although it can be taken orally, there are doubts about mutation, and the results of the clinical trial is only 50%. As for Pfizer's Paxlovid, it is a protease inhibitor used to inhibit the virus's proteases formation. The efficacy is sensitive to viral mutations, and it is well known the broadly drug-drug interaction with 40 commonly used drugs, affecting its acceptance, and the clinical result is only 89%. In contrast, SNS812 works by upstream RNA interference, which can cut off viral replications, and is administered simply by inhalation or nasal spray. So far, SNS812 has completely covered the main virus strains published by the WHO, and also covers 99.8% of the mutated virus strains in GISAID's new coronavirus database, so the safety is quite extensive, and no side effects have been found, and the efficacy is not sensitive to virus mutations. The investors also want to know more Abbott Fespixin Taiwan NHI reimbursement application. With that, we will report the update as well as post-marketing study. Fespixin has been filed for NHI reimbursement application on 31th December 2021. Fespixin is a domestic breakthrough new drug of Category 1 in NHI law with high clinical value, and first launched in Taiwan, hoping to benefit patients. So far, 2 expert meetings with NHIA have been held, and Oneness Biotech has replied to the requests from NHI. We are currently awaiting the final review comment, hoping to get the approval as soon as possible. As for the post-marketing feedback from physicians and the real-world data collection, we interviewed the physicians and noted that overall average incidence of ulcer healing is 75%, with healing time 4 to 16 weeks depending on wound condition. Overall, the average physician satisfaction is 8.9 out of 10 and average patient satisfaction is 8.6 out of 10. No Fespixin treatment-related adverse events was reported after it's locked. A real-world data study will be submitted to TFDA in the first quarter of 2023. We are scheduled to submit a post-marketing real-world case collection program application in the first quarter of next year, which is intended to be used as supportive data to NDA submission in the U.S. in the future. A 3-gram small pack of Fespixin is about to launch in January next year. It is mainly applicable to DFU patients with smaller ulcer size or in early stage. In the early stage of DFU, patients usually lack awareness due to the smaller ulcer size and could lead to deteriorated. We hope Fespixin 3-gram pack is applicable to smaller DFUs after other treatments or post-operation, such as negative pressure or after cell therapy, or even after skin grafting or flap surgery. Fespixin can achieve ulcer closure with small amount of cream. I have many clinical cases which new pack is suitable for smaller wounds. As to the collaboration with academic and research institutes, the purpose of initiating extramural program on Fespixin is to encourage the medical, academic, and the research institutes to participate in Fespixin academic or clinical researches so as to have further study on the mechanisms and expand the value of Fespixin. The current program includes VLU, scars, biofilm, pressure injury, and DFU-MOA. The details of Fespixin's collaboration with academic and research institutes is as the table showed. The first one is a research study collaborated with VGH Taipei and Xuanhou Hospital to evaluate the safety and potential efficacy of ON101 cream for the treatment of venous leg ulcers, which is going smoothly. The second one is to explore the short and mid-term effects of Fespixin in scar cosmesis following cervical or abdominal surgery conducted by TSH, which has been completed the enrollment and analysis with high efficiency. The next one is utilizing the translational approach to investigate the efficacy and mechanism of ON101 cream and their active compounds in preventing hypertrophic scar, microenvironment, and chemotactic epithelial stem cells formation, collaborated with Taipei Medical University and Xuanhou Hospital, which is quite smooth. The next one is exploring the therapeutic effect of Fespixin on the wound biofilm infection in a diabetic animal model, collaborated with National Taiwan University Hospital. The following is an open-label clinical trial to evaluate the efficacy and safety of ON101 cream for the treatment of pressure injury in sacrum wound, collaborated with Kaohsiung Medical University and Wanfang Hospital. The last two are for more comprehensive application of Fespixin on DFU. The first one is to evaluate the safety and efficacy of Fespixin cream for the treatment of chronic diabetic foot ulcers, Texas 1A, 2A, and dialysis patients, conducted in Cathay General Hospital. And the other is exploring the effect of Fespixin cream for the treatment of diabetic foot ulcers, Texas 3A, 3B. We hope to see the severe grade 3 DFUs can be downgraded and to reach healing. In terms of postoperative scar, the trial to explore the effects of Fespixin in postoperative scar was completed and the data were analyzed in the fourth quarter of 2022. The results showed the outstanding efficacy of Fespixin in postoperative scar maturation via Vancouver Scar Scale scoring, including pigmentation, vascular properties of the scar, and height of the scar. There are 3 stages of wound healing: inflammation, proliferation, and remodeling, and Fespixin can accelerate the remodeling facito, improve scars. The manuscript was submitted to an international journal. As for the radiation dermatitis new indication evaluation, the efficacy of Fespixin has been demonstrated in animal disease model and post-marketing experience. The application for U.S. provisional patent was submitted and the manuscript is being prepared, which we have reported in our last online investor conference. Based on the global strategy and market entry timeline of ON101, we will prioritize chronic wound indications development under medical device pathway. The goal is to accelerate the international market entry. Regarding to the international conferences in 2022, in the fourth quarter, we actively participated in key academic conferences and continued to connect with healthcare professionals and the international market. The international conferences we participated including the 4th Global Wound Conference in Malaysia in October and presentation in China Forum on Diabetic Foot and Related Diseases, Annual Conference on Diabetic Foot and Peripheral Vascular Disease of CDS during December 2nd to 4th. From December 5th to 8th, we also traveled to Lisbon to attend the International Diabetes Federation Congress 2022, where I personally gave an oral poster presentation. In the 40th anniversary meeting of Taiwan Society of Plastic Surgery on December 17th and 18th, Oneness invited David Armstrong, an international key opinion leader on diabetic foot management with Taiwan Society of Plastic Surgery, to give a speech at the conference, which received great response. For publications, the manuscript of cost-effectiveness analysis of ON101 has been submitted and accepted by the International Journal. The post-hoc analysis of the ON101 Phase 3 MRCT study will be submitted to the International Journal in the first quarter of 2023. The investigator-initiated study of the postoperative scar was completed in the fourth quarter of 2022. The data were analyzed and manuscript was submitted to an international journal. We hope to publish them soon. Through these publications in renowned scientific journals, we will increase the academic value and exposure. In terms of international licensing, many investors are paying attention to, and the market access and licensing negotiation on ON101 has been progressed. The clinical efficacy of ON101 has been acknowledged by pharma companies from China and global companies. ON101 adopts regional cooperation and authorization, and the marketing of drugs in Europe and the United States needs to wait for the completion of Phase 3 trials, and clinical trial cooperation, medical material sales cooperation, or early authorization can be carried out first. Other markets will be determined by the market access progress and are currently ongoing. And once there are specific results, they will be announced in accordance with regulations. ON101 is under regional licensing and collaboration negotiation. The commercialization of ON101 in US and EU will be proceeded after the completion of Phase 3 study. The collaboration model includes early joint participation in clinical stage, medical device commercialization, or licensing. The negotiation is ongoing and announcement will be made according to the regulation upon decision. ON101 is a first-in-class new drug for treating hard-to-heal wounds with strong competitiveness. The licensing collaboration decision will be made based on the best interests of shareholders and the most reasonable terms and conditions. Finally, we still have to remind all the investors that the nature of the business is new drug development for global unmet needs, which is considered with high risk. Any development projects or clinical trials are under risk of failure, and Oneness has done the optimal risk management, but the investors shall have the risk awareness. It takes time to establish distribution channel, enter reimbursement system, and collect post-market evidence after the drug is successfully launched. Oneness has talents, capitals, technology, and innovation. The new drug pipeline covers various stages. Profitability will begin after the company reaches the turning point where the licensed drug achieves the milestone, the launched drug enters into major markets, and the rest of the pipeline continue to be out-licensed. Thanks.
Thank you very much for participating in this online investor conference. Due to time limit, today's online meeting is about to end. The investor's question that has not been answered, we will put it on the official website of Oneness Investor Q&A before tomorrow opening quotation. Please refer to it. Under the influence of the pandemic this year, although there are many uncertainties and challenges, the tenacity and perseverance of the Oneness team are fully seen, and I believe that the fruits obtained after tempering will be even sweeter. The next online investor conference is scheduled in late March next year. I wish you all a happy new year and successful investment. Thank you.